Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Foundation for Free Enterprise Education's Speaker Series. My name is Michelle Warofka. Joining me today is Mrs. Clara Console. An award-winning networker and connector, Clara values her many years of providing services for thousands of businesses in the Philadelphia region. By working with all types of organizations in industries including manufacturing, pharmaceutical, medical, military, education, food, hospitality, automotive, and many others, she has gained a deep understanding of what it takes to run businesses, as well as what it takes to be successful employees of these businesses. More importantly, she communicates to young clients what businesses need from their new employees. As the owner of Choice Careers, LLC, Clara has provided career counseling to individuals as well as multi-year training programs for some of the largest companies in the world. Her focus is on both sides of the equation, the employer and the employee. Coaching young students to understand what it takes to be good employees ultimately benefits their employers as well. When she develops and implements employee development programs such as apprenticeships, she takes into consideration what each side needs, the business as well as the employees. Clara has been working with our foundation for many years and was even on our board of directors for our Foundation for Free Enterprise Education in the late 1990s. She received a Master of Business Administration from the University of Phoenix, a Master of Education from Westchester University, and a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from Temple University. She was born in Lima, Peru, speaks fluent Spanish, and lives in Jeffersonville, Pennsylvania with her husband, Vince, and two kitties named Flip and Cece. Welcome, Clara. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Michelle. I am so happy to be joining you, and I'm ready to go and share the experiences and expertise I have for many years.
Wonderful, and we're excited to hear all about it. I know you've prepared some great information and some wonderful slides to incorporate here into your presentation about what it takes to be great employees. So I'm going to let you, Claire, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so again, as Michelle explained, I have lots of years of experience working with employers. Specifically setting up training programs for their employees, including apprenticeship programs, coaching, and so forth. And so over the years, I've learned a lot from the employers. I've understood what their needs were, especially when we had to provide training programs and whatever the skills that their employees needed. So the reason I can come to PFEW and your students is because I've talked to so many employers and I've met so many employees, and I've understood the process of matching the two, as well as what were the gaps in what the employers needed as well as what the employees needed from their employers. And so when I coach and I work with individual clients, they sometimes ask me, how do I ace the interview? How do I continue being engaged with an employer? And then the employer also asks me, how can I better interview employees to get the better and the best fit? So that's really my expertise, is understanding both sides of the equation so that we have a better match. So I've been doing this since 1989 when I finished my master's at Westchester University. So that's why I can come to you with this expertise. And not many people have that expertise. I've worked with so many industries. A lot of counselors and consultants work with a limited list of employers, But in this case, I know a little bit about a lot, so I can share with you the commonalities between all these industries. So talking today about business is interesting because this is post-COVID-19. If we had talked about this pre-COVID, my talk wouldn't necessarily be different. It's just a little bit updated to include the COVID-19 discussion. The American economy is still healthy. It's definitely on its way back. Before COVID, we were experiencing amazing growth and amazing unemployment. And sorry, there's a truck coming by. And we experienced a situation where employers really were seeking the best employees out there, but most people were working. So it was really tough in some cases. Now, post-COVID or during COVID, employers are seeking to hire really good employees. But business optimism is high. Unfortunately, for some businesses that are small, some have had to close because of COVID. And so we're experiencing, and I hate to use the same term as everybody else, the new normal, but we have to be able to change and be flexible. But businesses are hiring. So it is critical for our young students to understand it as they finish high school and either go to college or go directly into the workplace. But what do they need to know to become successful and to stay employed? So as before COVID, we still have a major skills gap. And what this means is that the employers are looking for certain skills from their new employees, and their new employees don't necessarily have them. So whether it be what they call the hard skills, which are the tech skills, the professional skills, versus the quote soft skills, which I don't really love that term because soft skills are very hard to learn. But the soft skills are the other skills that we're going to be talking about today. And bridging that gap is really, really critical for employers nowadays. So when we talk to young people about what it means to be a good employee, one of the main things I talk to them about is that an employer or a business, and this could be nonprofit, for-profit, regardless of what it is, a business is a business. So even if you're working for a nonprofit, you still have to look at numbers and you still have to look at expenses and so forth. And you still have to worry about payroll. So whether you're in a nonprofit or profit, it doesn't matter. The employer still wants really a return on the investment. And what does that mean? That employer is putting out a certain salary. You may be getting health benefits on top of that. You might be getting vacation days, sick days, and so forth. So the total compensation package is going to be a number. So let's say that somebody coming out from college is now going to be making $50,000 total compensation. So that employer is looking at, okay, so I need to find somebody that is going to give me that return on investment and not necessarily say, I want that person to just give me $50,000 worth. I want to have that person make a little bit more so that I can use that profit to turn back into the business. So whether it be buying more computers or hiring more people, the word profit is not a bad word. Profit means that I can now take extra money that I've made from my employees or from my sales to invest back, right? So in my own company, for example, when we had business come in and I had extra money to work with, I could upgrade our computers. I could buy better equipment for us. I could buy better cameras. I could hire additional employees. So that's why I want whoever I hire, I want them to go above and beyond the call of duty in terms of my investment in them. So the question is, so what are employers looking for from their employees? And you know, a lot of times we're not taught this in school, and we're not necessarily taught this at home. And sometimes you have to hear it from a career coach. And what you might hear today is pretty basic. I think a lot of people might think, I know that. The question is, do we practice it? And that's really what's critical. So employers want employees that have what we call personal skills. And these are those soft skills that we were talking about. When an employer hires you, they want to make sure that you show up on time, that you're dependable, that after a couple of weeks of being the new kid on the block, you are still interested in the job, and that you come to work on time, if not early, and if not right on time, certainly call if you're going to be late, for example. So those are the kind of things that they look for in terms of being dependable, and that I know that I can count on my employees to be there. So when I owned or I managed a store and I wasn't the first one in, I needed to make sure that my employees were dependable to open the store on time. So for example, become self-motivated. So I want somebody who's going to come in ready to go and doesn't necessarily need me to tell that person every single day, every single moment, this is what I want you to do. So when you're self-motivated, it means that you really want to do the job and that you've got your own motivation for doing what you want to do in that company. So don't forget that when you get hired by a company, it's not just about what the company needs. It's about also what you want out of the company. And that's why we call it, we have to have a good match. So as an employee, you want to do your best for yourself as well as the company. So it is a two-way street. We want you to provide a positive representation of our brand. So for example, when we have presentations or we work with clients, I want to make sure that my employees are the most professional, the most responsive, the most customer service oriented I can get, because that's our brand. So when people think of Choice Careers, I want them to think professionalism, customer service, fun, for example. So you, as an employee of that company, you represent that company. Whether you're a receptionist, a truck driver, the CEO, marketing manager, you are a representation of that company. We look for people to rise to the occasion. So if I put you in front of one of my clients, for example, or I put an employee in front of anybody, I want you to rise to the occasion. I want you to be the best that you can be all the time. Now, if you're not, I'm not going to punish you, obviously, but I might take you aside and say, you know what, I really enjoy what you're doing. Maybe this is what you can do a little bit better next time. But I want you to rise to the occasion and have pride in what you do. The other thing I look for in an employee is to be a team player. So I'm looking for somebody, and employers are looking for people that want to work with other people, that can get along with other people, but can also have good discussions between each other with respect, and that can learn from each other. So being a team player also means at sometimes being a leader and sometimes being a follower, but certainly always looking at what's the goal of the project, what's the goal of the company, and how do we work together as a team to get there? Because you're being hired to meet the goals of the company, and the employees that are working with you need to be working together to meet that goal. One of the most important things that I look for in terms of an employee is having a positive attitude. You can't teach positive attitude. So when I interview and when my clients interview for employees, they're looking for that positive attitude, that can do, that no matter what comes in front of me, I'm going to try my best and I'm going to have a positive attitude. So if you come into an interview, you only have that one shot to make a great impression. So if you come into an interview with kind of a negative attitude about yourself, about the world, about other people, it's going to show. And therefore, you know what you show to an employer at that point might be what they're going to get afterwards. So your chances of being hired might be less. So those are the personal skills that we're looking for in people. The professional skills. Now, this is aside from the technical skills or the other, quote, professional skills, like if I'm hiring you to do business writing, I expect you to have good business writing experience. If I hire you to work on the manufacturing floor on a machine, I expect you to understand and know how to work a machine. These professional skills go above and beyond what we call the technical skills or the hard skills. So when I look for somebody, or for the clients that are looking for employees, they're looking for good communication skills. Do you speak well? Do you write well? Do you ask good questions? Do you have verbal communication as well as oral communication? Do you have good body skills? In other words, do I seem open to talking to you? So there are all kinds of communication skills. So you want to work at your communication skills as much as possible, which also includes public speaking skills. That's got to be one of the biggest areas that employers are looking for, especially when you're looking at hiring salespeople, people that are going to do presentations, people that are going to be in leadership roles. You have to start looking at your public speaking skills and work at the eye contact, the smiling, not using the word every other word. So there's training out there to become better public speakers. So that's one of the biggest skills. And especially in an interview, I can tell when somebody knows how to speak publicly. I mentioned teamwork again. And in an interview specifically, an interviewer, which could be the human resource department head or the CEO of the company, they're going to ask you, give me an example of how you worked within a team. So you have to be able to practice for that interview to answer those questions. The other skill that is one of the hardest skills to learn, and I'm still working at it myself, is time management. How do I manage my time, knowing that I have a list of things I have to get done every day or in a month and so forth. So looking at time management and how you really work with your schedule and make sure that you've got the goal in front of you and you figure out how am I going to reach that goal managing my time. So again, the great thing about today's world, and most of you have grown up with the internet, some of us didn't have the internet growing up, so I won't go there in terms of my age, but not all of us have had the experience of having, for example, YouTube. You can look up YouTube training for any of these skills. So if I were you, I would every week plan out a certain number of YouTube or trainings that I can look at to start learning this stuff, because like I say about this country, it only takes this much to be above average. And if you can train yourself and start looking at these professional skills and get better at them, you are going to succeed. You are going to be better than most of the people that are being interviewed. The other skill that I look for, especially when I'm hiring somebody, is leadership. And leadership is a little bit different than management, or in some cases, it's a lot different than management. Leadership is about being able to communicate a vision, a goal to an employee. Now, whether it's leadership or management, I'm looking for either or both. Management means, can I manage people to go do the job that I hired them to do? If I have a task that I want them to do, that's called management. I'm going to manage the project, manage the people. Leadership is about being this kind of person that people want to follow. And leadership is really critical if you are looking at eventually becoming a director, a president of a company, or even a leader of your department. Leadership is really, really valuable. And then the last one I want to talk about, because there's so many, is flexibility. This is one of the most critical skills that you can bring to the table, which is being able to move with change. And certainly after COVID, and again, most of you that are going to be working, it's going to be post-COVID. So this is the new world that we're living in. Being flexible is really critical. If I have somebody that says to me, I don't know if I could do that, that's not what I was hired to do, that's not in my job description, I'm looking at that person as, okay, now I know that I have a limited view of what this person can do. But if somebody says to me, bring it on, I can do it, I can make the change, I want to make a difference, and I want to be involved in the new normal, then I'm going to be looking at that person for potential future growth. So know that when you say no, 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 your employer is probably thinking, no, 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 no. And then the one that I want to talk most about is engagement. And what does that mean by being engaged? When I feel that somebody is engaged, or when an employer knows that an employee is engaged, it means that there's some type of ownership in my job, that I am so engaged that I'm looking at, how do I make my job better? How do I make myself better? How do I help other people become better? That means I'm engaged in the process. You know when somebody is not engaged and they're not coming to you with, I have an idea. As soon as somebody comes to me and says, I have an idea, or I think we can make a change, to me, that person is engaged. That person has ownership. So the more engaged you are as an employee, the better the employer is going to look at you for future engagement. And you may come out to be one of the most engaged people, where the employer might say, I want that person in a leadership role, because that person's engagement and positivity and fun is contagious. And I want that person to zap other people with that engagement. So if there's any one skill that you can start working on is being engaged. And you can do that in your family. You can do that at school with your teachers. You could do that with your neighbors. But practicing engagement really is one of the best things that you can do right now to show an employer that you are really in it and that you've got ownership in your job and that you want to stay in that company. So for that, these are the top skills that I would definitely think about in terms of you practicing them. And certainly PFEW is giving you the opportunity to learn a lot of these. So I'm thrilled to be able to bring that to you. And with that, that's the end of part 1.
Very good. Excellent. Great information, Clara. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for joining me today and sharing your wonderful expertise and experiences and knowledge of what makes a great employee with all of our viewers here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to our next session.
Definitely, yes. Stay tuned for part 2 here that will be showing here soon. And the nice thing, though, is I'm pretty sure that a lot of our viewers here were frantically taking lots of notes here during this presentation. And now they are ready to go out there and ace that interview and be standout employees. So thanks again, Clara, for your wonderful information here today.
Thank you.
Thanks to our viewers for watching.